Hello,
Hello.
uh, this is Zia.
Hi, Zia. Your voice is clear. Welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
So, first of all, before you start speaking, I would like to welcome you. Thank
Thank
you
you very
for
much.
having this event with us. It's great that we meet people like you who are thought leaders. You wrote a book, you have great experience about supply chain risk, and it's very important topic for everyone now globally. So
Okay.
we thank you very much for accepting to be sharing with us. By the way, what is the time at your place now?
It
Is it
is one moment. Actually, let me check myself. 2:04. So we are 4 minutes over the time. So we can, I think, wait for 1 or 2 minutes more.
Yes. So you are 2 p.m. like 6 hour difference from Cairo and 7 hour difference from Saudi. So I would like to welcome you and welcome everyone in our event. Okay. It's great to have you. We have some people. I'm doing, by the way, this webinar currently from Saudi. You are in US. Some people attendees are from Egypt. Some are from US. Some, from KSA. Some are from
Yes.
different countries, which is very interesting. So thank you, Zia. And I would like you to start your presentation, please.
One moment. Actually, one moment. First of all, I want to thank one special guest, whom I had requested. His name is Mr. Aftab Khan.
Perfect. Okay.
He's my teacher, and if you don't mind, just I want to I want to request him to just say a few words. Is it okay for you?
Sure. That's
so
great.
I'm
That's
allowing
really
Mr. Aftab Khan. Mr. Aftab Khan, if you're listening, please.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Zia, thank you so much for inviting me to this great event. Like Shireen said, this is being attended by participants from many countries. And that's the beauty of it, that we can all share our thoughts, our experiences across the world. So without further ado, I will let you go ahead because I think it's a very full presentation. And I'm really honored by you inviting me. Of course, you are a thought leader, you are a writer, author, and I'm proud to be working with you. Thank you so much, Zia, and all the best to you and to Sherry and her initiatives.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Your presence is an honor for me.
Thank you. Same here.
So, thank you very much, Team Symbiosis, for giving me this opportunity, and especially Shireen Musallam and Iman, that they both showed a lot of patience with me because I took some time in making this presentation, and then but they were very patient, and thanks once again. So I will start with a very brief introduction of mine. The format is that first I will try to wrap it up in 20-25 minutes time, and then I will leave it to the audience if anyone wants to ask any question. Is it okay? So to start with my introduction, my name is Zia Ahmad, and I was born and raised in Pakistan. I did my MBA Banking and Finance from there, and then I worked a lot. For almost 2 decades, I was working in different positions in supply chain profession. And mostly I spent my time in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh. And by 2012, then due to some motivation of a friend of mine, I started writing a book on supply chain management. And then, alhamdulillah, I was able to finish it in 2018, and now it is available on Barnes and Nobles and Amazon. Today, I will be discussing supply chain risk management. If we talk about just risk management, then this is a very vast subject, but our focus today is only in scenario of our limits and boundaries of supply chain management. So when we talk about risk, first of all, let us start it from here. When we talk about risk, so what is risk? Risk, in very short term words, it is a possibility of loss, danger, or injury. And no one wants to take any risk. So one moment. In supply chain context, when we talk about supply chain risks, the supply chain risks will also include non-attainment of our goals. For example, if we make a factory, we make some shop, we make some business, and we set out some goals for us that, okay, we will be producing this much number of units, for example, 10,000 number of units, and we are not able to attain that goal. Then that is also a risk, non-attainment of our goals, when we are not achieving our goals. So in a nutshell, the way we say that supply chain risks can adversely affect maximization of output. Then moving forward, if we leave them unchecked, then what can happen? These can lead to decreased profitability. And if we don't care for them altogether, then it can even go to the closure of a company. So they are very important to be checked right from the very beginning. Now let us proceed further to common misconceptions. The first of all common misconception which exists in many minds is that supply chain risks are only financial. People think, oh, come on, only financial risks. But truth is that no, these are in all the departments, in all the sides of the business. Risks are equally harmful and of different types. Now, let us move forward. So when we talk about risk, now we talk about management. Generally, when we say management, we in very simple and nutshell, we believe that management means doing some effort in a systematic way, following a system. So risk management, in very, very layman language, in very simple words, becomes a systematic effort to keep risks within our desired levels. And supply chain risk management, this is management of risks and reducing their negative impact throughout our supply chain. Yani it is like risk management, but managing the risk within our supply chain. When we are designing supply chain risk management, what are our three basic goals? Top of the line is what we want to do is that we have to control the risk and try to prevent their occurrence. Controlling, yani bottom line is we should be prepared, we should be knowing, we should be having an idea what is our system, and we should design a system which should prevent the occurrence of risk. We should not wait for someone to hit us and then we will design some system. Then the second goal is that continuously monitoring operation for predicting our risks. This is a continuous job. This is not a one-time job. We have to monitor the risks, the system continuously. And the third goal is then creating a better response for supply chain risks. That, okay, despite all our cares, everything, if some risk has hit us, then how we can respond to such risks. Generally, people say that we should be placing a resilient risk management system. We should be having a resilient management system. This means that a system which should be having enough power and capability to repair itself. I can give very simple example here that as a purchasing manager, we should not be relying on one supplier. If we have a supplier, we should be having its alternative suppliers ready with us. We should not be trying to do a supplier search once some of our main supplier, our only supplier leaves us, and then we start finding some supplier, then we will be in a very difficult shape. Now, for mitigating the risks, we need a very balanced approach. Balanced approach means that, see, if we want to reduce the risks too much, then what will happen? Ultimately, we will be caring for every risk. And then what will happen that our whole system will start slowing down. If we start, or if we try to remove, or if we try to control every risk, then it's practically not possible. Because what experience tells us that we are living with risks all around us. Like, for example, a few minutes back when I was coming back to my home, I was driving on a very busy highway. There were a lot of cars all around me. So I was at risk from every one of them. So what was the best response from my side? What I can do to be vigilant for them. I cannot close every window, and if I try to close every window, then I cannot operate. This is the way companies do, that they live with a lot of risks. Here, I will give a very simple example that in businesses all around the world, except for few businesses where there is no norm of offering credit, the companies offer credit. You are offering credit terms to others. This is a risk which everyone has to take. Without it, you cannot do the business. There are some segments of market where people can do business without offering any credit. So moving forward, so we have to identify the risks which are controllable and thus can be planned for. We have to identify those risks which we can control. Because the way I explained earlier, that we cannot control every risk. We cannot mitigate every risk. Now, for constructing an effective supply chain risk management system, what we have to do? First of all, we have to understand the nature of our own supply chain and identify risk-prone areas. Where there are risks, we have to identify those areas first of all. In underdeveloped countries of the world, or in developing countries of the world, extending credit is a very risky thing. But still people do there. And in some businesses where their products are highly perishable, I will give the example of coal. When we are extracting it from the mines, then it has a very short shelf life. If you cannot leave it for a very long time with you, if you will leave it there for a long time, it will lose its power. So what they are doing, that once they are extracting the coal, they are just delivering it to their customers, because this is the norm of the business. So in this case, what they do, that they have to, the risk for them is to leave the coal for too much time with them. So they identify that we cannot leave the coal with us. The moment we will pull it out, we will deliver it to the customers as soon as possible. Now, here comes the interesting point, that assess the threat level of each risk and rank risks accordingly. Now, there are risks, some of the risks which are very high level, which can close a company. And there are some risks which are at a very low level intensity. For example, if in a country we see that a civil war is, God forbid, it's coming, it's a very high risk. So we have to be ready for it. But then there are some small risks with which companies, the way I explained earlier, extending credit or other things. Sometimes people say that we cannot hire employees who are not trained. We need only trained people. So because hiring untrained people is a risk. Okay, but that's a smaller level of risk with which you can live. Okay, you will hire an untrained employee, you will train him, maybe he or she will not leave with you, and after some time they will leave you. But we have to take such risks. And then we have to design a system to mitigate these risks. We have to follow a systematic approach. We cannot follow the way someone likes it, or the way we say that, oh, come on, I like it this way, or okay, Mr. ABC likes it this way. No. We have to follow a system. We have to design a system, and then we have to follow it. Then we have to ensure a continuous monitoring of operations and look for improvement in risk mitigation procedures and systems. Once we implement a system, then after implementing, we have to monitor it continuously and see what better we can do. We cannot stop at a point that, okay, this was the best thing to do and we are on the best point. There is nothing best in the business there. We have to go for betterment always. So now there are some tasks in supply chain risk which we have to do on a periodical basis. We have to do on and on, again and again. So what are those? First of all is identify risks. We have to know what are our risks. The way I explained earlier that there are a lot of risks and risks are all around us and we live among them. But okay, we have to identify them. That in the second is quantify them. That how much time, how much is the chance of occurrence of each risk. Third is identify countermeasures. That what we can do for these risks. For example, if we take the example of again offering credit or this or hiring non-trained employees, then what are our countermeasures? What we can do? That okay, countermeasure is that okay, then if you don't want to hire an untrained employee, go for a trained one. Then in that case, you have to invest a little more. We cannot pay untrained employees than the basic rates. We have to give them then some leverage, some better base. Then once we identify the countermeasures, then we have to implement those countermeasures. We have to make sure that now whatever we have decided, whatever we have researched, we are measuring, we are implementing it. If we don't implement it, then all this effort does not make any sense. Now, this is a very interesting point, transferring. Transferring means that we, instead of keeping the risk with us, on us, we try to transfer it to some of our partners. For example, some companies say that, okay, we are done with keeping too much inventories. We will not be keeping any inventory. And now we will not keep any inventory. And the manufacturer the way we will get an order from the customer, same way we'll place the order to the supplier or manufacturer. This way, what they are doing basically is they're transferring their responsibility of keeping that inventory to the manufacturer. This has its benefits and its losses, or it has its plus points and minus points also. Okay, plus point is that we will not be investing our cash, our money in that. But negative point is then you might start losing the confidence of suppliers and confidence of manufacturers. Because if they have a quality product, if they have some market segment, they will definitely pressurize you to keep some inventory then. So then the risk starts that if you will not keep their inventory, then you might be facing a risk of losing the supplier. So that no one likes. Now, insurance. Insurance we do for all the parts of the business, but here we will concentrate that whatever is the part of supply chain, that part we have to insure. Like, for example, we have to insure our warehouse. The warehouse must be insured against not only fire risk or theft risk, but thefts of employees also, because there are chances where you find employees who are then stealing items from you. And then there are cash collectors in many countries. This is very risky, that sometimes the dealings are in cash, and then there are some people who are working as cash collectors and they go to the customers and they collect cash. So on the way back, they can do anything. So you have to cover that thing also in insurance. And again, the way we did it earlier, that in this periodical task, we have to keep on monitoring and reviewing. We have to do it like all other businesses process here also, that we have to keep on monitoring whatever we have done. Are we identifying our risks properly? Are we quantifying them properly? And we have to rank them then. The risks which are too much intense for us, the one which have a maximum level of threat for us, we have to keep them first. And the risks which are least, offering us least in risk, least impact, they can be kept in the end. Like here, I will give example. Good example is of ABC inventory system, where what we do that the items which are having maximum numbers of transactions, they are kept first, and the items which are having minimum number of transactions, they are kept in the end. And then as a business thumb rule of 80-20, we see that 20% items are for 80% sales. So same way here, 20% risks are covering 80% of the whole scenario. And then we have to identify countermeasures. Are we identifying it properly, and are we implementing everything properly or not? So now let us move to the next segment. Protection against risks to long-term goals. Now, how we can protect our organization from risks to our long-term goals. First of all, we have to develop a backup data. Backup data, like in our personal life, we say that, like in my home, I have a laptop, I have a computer, but I have a hard drive, external hard drive, which is around, I think, 1 terabyte. I purchased it a few years back. So whatever are my personal important files, I keep it in them. So this is the way you keep a backup data. Same way companies keep backup data. And how they keep the backup data these days is that they keep the backup data in far off locations which are not there, like cloud. Either you can make your own backup data, or you can take a space from cloud. You keep the data, and the data. Then there are some regulations now in some countries that the backup location, data location, must be approximately, as far as if I remember, I'm not wrong, 20-30 kilometers away from your main location. So what happens that if, God forbid, there is a problem in your main location, then your data is saved in other location, which is 20-30 kilometers away, and from there you can retrieve the data. Then for long-term goals, sometimes companies enter into joint ventures, because there are sometimes mega projects, some big projects, where companies believe that they cannot compete against each other. If they will compete against each other, then they will lose the business. This I have seen in, I will again give example from my own country. It was a very big dam. It was Tarbela Dam, yes, Tarbela Dam, which was started in 60s and made in 70s. It was the world's largest dam at that time. And in that, I think 3 or 4 companies joined hands together and made it. And in other such big dam projects, I have seen that companies join hands together and they make a joint venture, which is applicable only for that project. They code together, they do everything together. Third is merger and acquisition. This is something very extreme, where the companies become forced to do it, because they know that without this, it's very difficult for them to survive or to compete in the long run. So what they do, that instead of competing against each other, and instead of going on in the same way, they try to merge or acquire other companies. In medicine, in pharmaceutical companies, I think around 20-25 years back, there were 2 companies, Welcome and I've forgotten the name, second company. But Sandoz and Ciba Geigy were the other 2 big companies which joined hand together. And then Welcome and I've forgotten the name of the second company. Anyway, they both joined hand together and made one company, and then they said that this way we can do the business better. Automation. Automation helps us a lot to keep this, to save against our long-term goal, risk against our long-term goals. One very good example of automation, this is the way we are now talking to each other. The way my host said that she's from Saudi Arabia at that time, and I am in Maryland, USA, and then there are people from Egypt and there are people from UAE. So this is also an example of automation, that people are starting doing more and more automation, like in inventory, keeping an inventory. First of all, what people were doing, that they were counting the items themselves physically and then entering it in the system. Then barcodes came. Now you are affixing the barcodes to items, and then you are scanning the barcodes, and then the data is entered into the system. So there are a lot of examples which we can do here. Now we move to our next segment, which is protection against risk to our short-term goals. Very simple, that maintain your work area clean and organized. If the workshop floor is messy, then people will be spending a lot of time in finding their own tools and their own items. And sometimes what happens that when we are working and at same time, our technicians are working on 3-4 projects. So sometimes what happens that the items which are required for some projects start getting mixed up. So at that time, then they are searching for the item. It can happen that they might be searching for items, and so everything gets delayed. So this is the part which I believe, if my friend Faiz Ahmed is here from Saudi Arabia, that keeping a comprehensive documentation, because this is his line, the way ISO says that say what you do and do what you say, that you have to keep your documentation updated. Every process must be documented and followed. There is no compromise on it, that we will do everything verbally. No verbal, nothing. So our documentation must be very strong, must be updated. And the way, for example, if we are, what is happening in some companies that you need an item and you call your supplier, come on, send me the item. And supplier sends you the item, and item comes and it is on your shop floor, and then you have not issued a purchase order, item is not in your inventory, and then a lot of transactions are happening and you lose a track of it. Then after maybe a few weeks, or maybe even after a few days, you will see the item and you will also not know that why the item is here and why we are not using it. And plus, if you have not paid to the supplier, after 20 days, 15 days, whatever is the stipulated time, they will start demanding their payment. So you will be paying them, but you will not be able to use the item. So you have to keep a comprehensive and proper documentation. This is a very important point now, that you have to keep on market search for better products, better suppliers, and better customers. Okay, we do the market search the way companies do that. They keep on market searching, but they don't want to deal with a very big majority of suppliers and big majority of customers. I'm talking mostly about trading companies. Of course, retailers have a big variety of customers, but the way trading companies, manufacturing companies are dealing, that they try to keep their customers limited. Like when I was in Saudi Arabia, there was a very big manufacturer, Saudi Steel Pipe. Saudi Steel Pipe had made a rule that they were not selling to any walk-in customer. They had 5 or 6 distributors for Saudi Arabia, and they were just selling to those distributors only. That's it. They were not entertaining any market inquiry. If someone sent them an inquiry, they used to forward it to their distributors. So this way, what they were doing, basically, they were keeping their number of customers limited. And their source of suppliers were also very few. Like one day I asked them, they said that Saudi Arabian government's mining division, there is a company, they purchase the metals from them. So basically this way they were keeping their number of suppliers limited and also their customers. And then hiring and retaining the best employees, that you have to keep best employees with you, whatever. And whenever you keep employees, you have to keep their backup also, that you must be having some record, some data for if some employee leaves you all of a sudden or gives you a notice, then you must be having a backup that from your database, you can find a better person you can contact, and this way your operation will not suffer. This is then in the short run, that network security. We have to keep our network very secure. We have to use the latest latest techniques to keep our network safe from hacking and other threats. Because these days, the hacking is one among the biggest threats all around the world. How to keep our network safe from them? Generally, what we have seen that offline systems are not under that much threat in the way online systems. But we cannot carry on forever with an offline system. We have to go online. Now, I'm sorry, one moment, yes. The thing is that the way we say that risk, the way we say that risks, that point I had left earlier, that business risks have two sides always. They are threat from one side, but they are opportunity from other. How they are opportunity from other side? See, for example, I will give you like a customer complaint. No one likes customer complaints. I also don't like customer complaint. That's wrong from one side. But its better side is that once you see a customer complaint, then you can check the loopholes in your system and you can improve it. So that risk becomes an opportunity for improvement also. So now we are just we will recap it. That risk is a possibility of loss, danger, or injury, and our focus should be to trying to control the controllable risks. And when we are dealing in international market, then the risks are more than if we are dealing in the local market. Because for example, if I'm dealing only locally, I'm living here in a small town in Maryland, its name is Laurel. If I'm dealing only here, then if some of my customers does not pay, I can call them or I can go after them even. I can talk to them personally, and then I know the local rules and regulations, so I can follow them easily. But if I'm doing business with someone sitting in South Africa or Iceland, then it will be very difficult for me to go after them. But I cannot live without having an international business. That's also a reality that no company can grow forever doing only business locally. We have, when we want to grow, we have to grow across the borders then. Now, this was the part that what are risks? The way we say that risks is a chance of loss or injury or damage, and it has a positive side that it becomes an opportunity for improvement. Now we will go to the second part. In this second part, I will be just mentioning a few important risks now. So first of all, we have natural disasters. Natural disasters are of two types. First is earthquakes, tsunamis, or this global pandemic, where we cannot plan for them. We don't know, God forbid, how earthquakes are coming or not coming. We don't know. No one can predict. But then there are some disasters which we can predict, like a flood or cyclone, or that it's coming. So we have to, we can be prepared for them, but then it needs intensive and costly planning. We have to be planned. Like we have seen that in Japan, now they are designing the building's foundation in a way that they can absorb the earthquakes. Okay, that is an expensive thing for them to do it, but they are forced to do it. There is no other alternative for them. Like here in USA, I have seen that in Florida, in the state of Florida, these cyclones or floods are coming. So people are ready there. They know that if it is coming, what to do. They are ready for it. This is the best which we can do for natural disasters, that we have to be ready and plan accordingly. Another good example is that if some cyclone or this is coming, then we have to evacuate the people from there. Now, another important thing is international mega events. Mega events, these are such big events which affect the a big part of the world, like a world war, which affected a very big part of the world, World War I or World War II. Then the second is that if some countries impose sanctions on others, this is now not that much common. But if we go back 30, 40 years in history, we will see that there were a lot of trade sanctions, not on from one country to the other, but from one group of the countries to the other group of the countries. So we were always in middle, always having problems. Then the third event is when if commodities markets or stock markets crash. In small countries, if the stock market crashes, then its effect is only local. Up to that country, up to that area, it will affect, but not out of that country. But if it happens in big countries like in USA, it happened in I think 2006-07 when the company started collapsing here, then its effect was felt all over the world globally. Then people started feeling its effects. Then macroeconomic events. There are some macroeconomic events. Like we say, microeconomics is the one which affects an individual, and macroeconomics, which affects or deals with a society level, country level. So what happens that sometimes there are some events which are related to some trade industry, some industry specific events happen. A good example is sometimes what happens that some countries, especially the developed countries, see that they are importing handmade items from some developing countries, and they see that in this developing countries, the people, the owners of the industries are not treating their employees very good, or they're not following strictly the security measures. So what they do, that they impose sanction or something like some quota barrier, some other barrier on that industry, that okay, we will not import shirts from you, or we will not import this from you. So this is sometimes related to that specific industry. Sometimes it is related to a country, the way we explained earlier. And what we can do for these, that we have to keep on monitoring the local economics of these type of events. If they are happening, we have to be prepared for them, and we have to better not to invest in such areas where such things are happening. Sadly, I will give a sad example here. Like I did not want to give this example, but this is an example here. Syria, like countries, or Yemen, which are in a war-like situation here. People will not invest there at the moment. People will think, first of all, that okay, let the situation be normal, back to normal again. Once it is normal, then we will start investing it. Now we are coming now over focus. We were on a mega level. Now we are coming back to our micro level. We are going to our business to business risks. These are the risks which we face while dealing with other companies or individuals. Now here comes those risks. In these risks, then top of the line is financial risks. As I talked earlier about it also, that we have to keep them in control, because we cannot keep it unchecked. No company in the world can work forever without finances. Without finance, no one can operate forever. So how we can do, or what we do? Generally, what happens that we have to establish a system that, okay, this is our customer, this is our customer, these, we have to make some priority list, we have to give some credit terms, but there must be a system that, okay, this customer's credit limit is up to this. And sometimes what happens that we have to give credit, we have to give extra credit also. But if we want to give exceed that limit, then it should not be done by everyone. It should be done by under some checks and balance. Generally, what happens is that in small or medium-sized companies, the way I will give example of my own previous company where I was working in Saudi Arabia. There was a very good system basically. that sometimes purchase orders for some customers used to come to me, and I used to see that, come on, their credit limit is, for example, 100,000, and they have already used. And again, they are ordering 10,000 more. So then I had to refer it to the CEO that, see, they are exceeding their credit limit. So they have to take now credit approval from the CEO. And once the CEO approved it, then we had to place, we placed the order. So this way, we were keeping the things under checks and balances. No one was getting unlimited type of credit. So, but the problem is that due to market conditions, we cannot eliminate it 100%. We have to give credit. Without giving credit, we cannot do any business. In most of the market segments, few market segments like metals, expensive metals, precious metals, where there is no risk, where there is no credit. So who can default? This is a question, that who can default on our financial, who can impose more financial risk, or where our financial risk is more. So this is always more while dealing with smaller companies. When we are dealing with smaller companies or individuals, in layman terms, the way people used to say about something, this is a one-man show. If that person is there, the business is there. And if that person leaves due to any reason, then you will be hanging in midair, that what to do, where to recover the money. So this risk is more with small companies and less with big companies. But big companies also there are also risks. Either they can delay your payment due to, if their payment gets delayed, like very big contractors, it has happened, I have observed this thing, that the employer of the project stopped their payment, and then when we were following them for our payment, they said that, sorry, our payment is not released, so we don't have enough cash to pay you. So this way, payment can be delayed, or sometimes there are some bureaucratic procedures in those companies where they will take too much time in releasing your payment. Sorry. Then these business-to-business risks, these are more in third world countries. When we are, for example, if I'm sitting here and some company in Nepal asks me for offering open account, then this is very risky thing to do. Because in developing countries, what happens that there are government regulations, there are agencies, there are ways and means to check and balance, keep a check and balance, and to recover the money. But in third world countries, it's very difficult. Again, please don't mind, but again, I will give example of Saudi Arabia. In Saudi Arabia, there was a very good system. If some company defaults intentionally and you establish this, then okay, you can go to Chamber of Commerce and you can tell them this thing, this happened, you established your case with firm evidence. Then what they used to do, that they used to put them on hold, that okay, now there will be no attestation done for you from Chamber of Commerce. And as per system of Saudi Arabia, every document, whether going to government departments, needed to get attested from Chamber of Commerce. So from Chamber, if the Chamber attestations are stopped, then companies, that was very difficult for them to carry on the business. Like here in Saudi Arabia, here in USA, I have seen that the companies then refer it to the collecting companies, and the collecting companies, then they will follow you, and then it will come against your social and against your employment identification number. So your record will go bad. And once your record go bad, then your credit rating will go bad. And so in a nutshell, the financial risks are lower in developed countries because of owing to higher accountability, or greater transparency is also there, and functional governance, government entities are also very much functional. So how we can control these risks, first of all, we have to work with reputable customers and allow the relationship to grow systematically. Okay, in simple words, okay. In the beginning, we can offer them a credit limit, which is, for example, of a lower amount. Then we see their performance and gradually increase it. And then if some customer demands, for example, if we have started business for someone and we assign them a limit of $50,000 and all of a sudden they come with an order of $200,000. Okay, from one side you're happy that, oh, come on, I got $200,000 order. But then you have to stop at that time and ask them for either an advance payment or irrevocable bank letter of credit or LC, or a bank guarantee for long period of time. Sometimes people will provide you a guarantee which will be a very short time, 2-3 months. No. Then ask them to give a guarantee minimum 2 years, for example, 1 year, 2 years. This type of bank guarantees must be there. And when we are dealing with our supplier, we should try. The bottom line is that we should try not to give credit to our customers, but we should try to get credit from our customers. So what we do with our supplier, that we should try to get open account terms or letter from them, or letter of credit. Letter of credit is also, if we have good terms with bank will also offer us, give us credit facility of maybe 30 days, 40 days, 50 days, the way 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, the way we have relation with them. And try to avoid paying advance to the suppliers, because if we start making it a habit that, okay, we will be paying advance to our supplier and then collect the cash later on from our customer, then it is a very difficult thing to, this way, it becomes very difficult to carry on the business, because we are financing both of them in this way. And then we have to avoid the unfavorable clauses for order cancellation. Sometimes what happens that suppliers will make an agreement with you, they will sell something to you, but what they will do that in the terms, they will say that if you cancel this order on me, there will be a 40% cancellation fees. So this way, it's very difficult to cancel the order. If we will cancel the order, we will be paying 40%, which is very high, or 30%, or whatever is the percentage. So what companies are then forced to do, then instead of cancelling the order, they will say, okay, even if my customer has cancelled the order upon me, but still I will carry on the order, I will keep the order, and I will keep it in my inventory, and I will be keeping it in inventory and try to sell it to some other customer, but then you don't know when you will get some other customer for that. Quality risks. So we have to inspect the items thoroughly once we receive from suppliers. Quality risks, these are, sorry, I forgot to explain it. That simply these are the risks to quality of the items, whether we are manufacturing some items or whether we are purchasing and selling some items. In both ways, if we are manufacturing, then we have to keep a good quality of our products. If the quality is bad, then ultimately we'll be losing business. And if we don't improve it, then maybe someday we have to close. So if we are having a trading business or we are purchasing and selling, then what we have to do, we have to inspect the items thoroughly once we receive them from supplier. And before delivering to customer, also again inspect it. Don't think that if we will, it is eye washed from our side, customer will also be eye washed. No. Sometimes what happens that there is a small item, and if the customer sees, no, the item they have sent is bad, maybe you have sent it by mistake, but they will start thinking bad about you. So once we inspect the items and we see some substandard items or raw materials which are not as per our standard, then they must be returned to the suppliers. And defective products, when we are manufacturing items, there are items which are defective, they must be removed for trashing or recycling. There can be two chances. Like in some fruit juice companies, I have seen that in the end they have a scanner. Once the tins are on the final belt and they are going out for packing, in the end there is a scanner which is scanning all the time, that in some tins the juice level is low, or there is some other point which they see, then the system stops the belt and they just throw that tin out. And then in that case, it's not worthwhile to recycle it, so they just trash it. So risks for our next topic is then risks for non-attainment of strategic goals. Whenever we are talking about the word strategic or strategic goals, it means long-term goals. So what happens that in long-term or strategic goal, or what are the risks? That sometimes we are purchasing from someone and selling too much. Then with our performance, people get interested that, come on, you are selling it so much, why I cannot sell? And there is always a chance that your own supplier starts coming into your competition. And this, for supplier, it's okay, but if some manufacturers comes in your direct competition, then you cannot compete. So this is a risk that if sometimes what happens that if some supplier becomes in your direct competition. So how we can do, we should be having some legal agreement with them that, okay, if we are dealing with you in this item, you cannot come in our direct competition. I have observed it in some big multinationals that first of all, these days, they are not giving exclusive agreements to the distributors. They are keeping few, not a single distributor there, but they are keeping 4 or 5 distributors. But they are making it a binding on those distributors that their distributors cannot promote their competitors' product. So, yani, situation is that they can keep more than one distributor, but they don't allow their distributor to deal with their competitor. So what happens that if we don't keep keep an eye on them, or we don't close the loopholes here, and then we see that our suppliers or our manufacturers have come into direct competition, then it will be very difficult for us to wrap up from there and then find some other way, some other market. Compliance risks. These are the risks associated with non-compliance of government regulations. And these risks are higher in countries where there are regular changes in regime and there are inconsistencies in issuing policies, like in developing countries. If the regulations are changing every day, then you cannot keep a track of it sometimes. You might be feeling that, oh, come on, we are not following this rule or this rule. But in the countries where the policies are consistent, there is stability, then people know that, oh, this policy is there and this is there to stay. So people then follow those policies, then follow those systems. So in every situation, like I will give an example here in USA, for example, here in residential area, you cannot make a grocery store in your home. Like in developing countries, the way I tell you, I'm from Pakistan, there might be some people here from India, or Nepal, or Bangladesh, or these type of countries, and many other countries of the world, where what people do that they are making their grocery store, small grocery stores in the outer side of the room of their home, and that becomes a shop for them. They are living there and earning there. But you cannot do it here. You cannot do it in any other European country also. And even in countries like in Saudi Arabia, there are rules and regulations for making grocery store, which generally we call bakala. So these are the government regulations with which you have to comply. And then operation risks. These occur due to internal corruption or negligence, and these are difficult to plan for. Sometimes what happens that our staff are not that motivated, or they don't care for it. And so due to their negligence, there can be problems. And if you remember the way I was explaining earlier, that if you purchase an item without a purchase order and you put it in shop floor, and the item is there now and you don't know because you purchased it without a purchase order and without entering it into your system, and the item is lying in the shop floor, but your technician is showing negligence. Now you are in your own place and office and you don't know, and your technician is showing just negligent, lenient approach. Come on, why I should be bothered? So item is there, but due to their negligence, and you'll be losing the item, or you'll be purchasing it again. So how we can do? We have to keep an auditing procedure, and we have to improve the transparency. So this finishes my side, and I thank all of you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much,
and
thank you very
welcome.
much.
And I am now one moment leaving it to the audiences, and I'm holding now my pen in my hand, that if anyone has any question, you are now free to ask. Thank you for my side.
Thank you very much. We have one question: how to do segmentation for supply chain risks?
Yeah, segmentation for supply chain risks. See, what happens that bottom line is that the way I explained earlier, that there are some risks which will hit us very hard, very high, and then there are risks which impacts is very low. We have to understand that thing. The risks which there are, for example, some risks. For example, if we don't comply to government regulation here in America, here in USA, what will happen? That they will close our business. They will close our credit facility. So this has a very high impact on us. So we have to categorize them. The one which can hit us bad, and which impact can be maximum, we have to keep them first of all. The ones which have less number, then second. This way we have to grade them, and in the end, which has very low impact on us, we have to keep them. And there is no fixed principle for this. People develop it by trial and error method. Companies develop it after a very long time and experience, and with their own. There is no fixed principle for it. Any other? Thank you.
I have a question for you, Zia. Do companies have a way? Sometimes companies try to quantify the risk amount. Have you done this before for companies, quantifying risk like an amount? How many millions?
No. Actually, I have worked as a purchasing manager only. So I can talk only in that context of suppliers and customers. In our context, then what happens that we see that a customer is not paying on time. See, they are within their credit limit, but they are not paying on time. So we have to discipline them then.
Okay.
Like there are some suppliers who try to pinch you all the time. That okay, no, from credit, they try to squeeze you two ways. Supplier will try to squeeze you two ways. First, they will try to reduce your credit limit. Oh, no, you have to pay me cash, or you are having a 60 days credit. Now you will be having a 30 days credit. This is one way of squeezing you. Second way, the way they squeeze, which is very unethical and very bad. Sometimes what happens that they will try to contact your customers directly. Okay. And what will happen that they will start quoting to your customer, and they will inform you, okay, we have an agency agreement. We will pay you, for example, your agency fees 5%, 10%, 6%, whatever percentage they will pay you. So they are following the contract also. They are giving you your agency agreement, agency fee, but you are not making real money from your customers then. This is also a risk. So we can talk only in this. One moment, I see there are two questions now here. There is Mr. Lofty Al-Sayed says that exclusive contracts for supplier when it considers risks and is generally preferable or not. This is the question. I'm reading it from the screen now. It's okay?
Please.
Yeah. So, see, it says that exclusive contracts for supplier when it considers risk and in generally it is. See, these days what is happening that manufacturers don't give mostly exclusive contracts. They don't rely on one distributor. They prefer to keep 2-3 distributors, 4 distributors, but not 20 distributors. In my observation and experience, I have seen that they always try to keep any number between 1 and 9. This is my personal observation. Maybe I'm wrong in it. No issue with it. So what is happening that they will keep 2, 3, 4 distributors. They will not give you any exclusive rights, exclusive agreements. They will not sign. So this way they are reducing their risk that if one distributor, now look at it from the manufacturer side, that they are keeping more than one distributor, that if one distributor backs out or goes bankrupt or goes out of the market or just stop doing business due to any mental reason of the owners that, okay, come on, we don't want to do any more business, we are just closing it, then they have an alternative. This is their side. So this is the way. Okay, exclusive agreement is preferable, especially this is a gold mine if there is some item, some high-tech item which is monopoly. If I give example, like for example, I will give example of General Electric. General Electric, I'm giving example because it's a very well-known company of the world. Very well-known company of the world. If someone from your country gets an exclusive agreement of General Electric for whole Egypt, then it's a gold mine. But from General Electric side, they say, oh, this is a risk for us because we are dependent on one distributor only. Anything else?
Okay. So I think it's time because we have to close because we stayed late. I think you need to go, and thank you very much, Zia, for
thank
this.
you very. Oh, I think I took more time than my stipulated time.
No, it's okay. It's perfect. But just we usually try to keep it to 1 hour so people can go back. It's it's evening here now. It's 10 p.m. in Saudi.
Thank you.
9 p.m. in
Okay. Before closing, I request again Mr. Aftab Khan to please say a few words. Sir, I request
please.
you.
Can you hear me?
Pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
we are hearing you.
Excellent, Zia. As always, you have really drilled the subject down, especially non-attainment of objectives being a risk is a very good idea, and that's unique. And people should consider that as a tangible risk, not just fires or loss of cargo, but not achieving your objectives is a huge risk to business in the long run. And yes. I'm also keeping an eye on emerging risks and potential threats in all aspects. It's a very good presentation, Zia. Congratulations, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, sir. I'm honored that you are here, and I'm really thanking Team Symbiosis also that you allowed us. Mr. Aftab Khan is my teacher, so I'm very thankful and I'm honored that he's here. Anything else? Thank you. Otherwise, from my side, it's okay. Thank you very much. And I'm available anytime in future. If you want on any other topic, you can contact me.
Thank you. Have a good night. Have a good evening.
Over to you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us in your weekend. Have a great time. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aftab.
Thank you.
Bye.